Far out into the countryside was a beautiful village, hidden away in a glorious valley, full of a plethora of flowers, plants and trees. You could hear the birds chirping away as they sang their hearts out. It was an incredibly beautiful sight to witness, and a closed environment that was only accessible to blind people and shut off from the rest of the world. The village was established by a benefactor whose second child happened to be blind. He wanted to become a peaceful abode for blind people right from the moment they were born. For the time of their passing, their families were able to come to visit them on certain days and keep in touch with them via phones. Nevertheless, they would live in that exclusive environment in a world of their own. As they grew up, they went to school, received education, fell in love, got married, brought up their families, and each one had their own little home. One day, a famous professor of ophthalmology contacted his trustees of the village and told them that he had developed a new care for the blindness which will cure them, but it's not a dangerous operation. And it's one that really worked. He wanted a volunteer for the first operation and promised that all the publicity around the world as a result of this successful operation will be for the benefit of the institution. Then if the trustees were happy, they could start sending more blind people to get the treatment. Trustees agreed. And so a young blind man came forward and volunteered. He went through the operation that lasted 3 days. He woke up the next morning and, to everyone's amazement, he was able to see the world for the very first time. It was an entirely new experience. He could see the colours, the objects, the people, and all the beauty that had been there around him in the entire time. He looked at his wife, smiling face, and at his beautiful children. He was so happy to see what he had become blessed with. He had never had any other desires or doubts anyway. Everyone's excited. The young man walked around the village, telling people what was going on. He told them about the beautiful things he could see. And they were very excited about the story. Then a very large international network contacted the trustees and said what they wanted to do is to take the young man on a world tour. They wanted him to meet with presidents and prime ministers. They wanted him to be interviewed by the press, appear on television, and at the same time raise a lot of publicity for the village. And it will really support for the organization that helped him visually impaired people. Besides, they wanted the young man to experience real life for himself. We will take him around in each country and he can see the people, how they live, think and what they do in their lives. Well, of course, it was such a large donation that the trustees had no objections. The family also encouraged him to go and that they could learn so much about the different places that they'd never visit. This went on his journey from city to city and country to country. It was a fantastic and memorable journey, which took him to all the places in the world. He was able to look, watch, see and feel the different ways people lived on all levels of society in the furthest corner of the world. A year flashed by quickly. During this time, He stayed in contact with his family and friends by phone on a daily basis and told them many stories about the things that he had seen. Finally, his journey ended and he came back to the institution. The board of directors told him they wanted to appoint him as a special liaison and expert. They wanted him to teach and guide the people and tell what the world really looked like. They said it would be more effective coming from him and not the teachers. As he had experienced both sides of life and knew how the blind and the seeing felt. He also wanted to arrange an elaborate dinner and invite donors, trustees, staff, and obviously everyone who was living in the village to celebrate the young man's achievements. Having been on the road for a year, the young man asked them to postpone the dinner to 3 days later so that he could rest and appear before the crowd energetically. The board agreed, and the news of the dinner was spread around the village quickly. The young man was extremely excited about the ordeal. He spent a lot of time with his family and close friends, and to anyone who would ask him about his experiences, he would say, "Wait until we all get together and I will tell you everything." Exactly 3 days later, at the same evening before they had fixed the dinner, the young man woke up blind. The effect had worn off. He told his family not to say anything to anyone. "I will surprise them tonight and I will tell them everything." And so it happened. He went onto the stage before the excited guests who were anticipating what he had to say and said, "My dear friends, what I want to tell you, in fact, is a shock for me and for you. However, it is nothing but the truth. But there in the outside world, most of the people I met were blind, despite having eyesight. We can see and experience life clearer than everyone else. There is a competition of greed, and people have desires and run after money, wealth, fame, possessions, and all the sorts of things that we don't even dream of. They consume themselves with their football matches, paintings, music. We entertain with music and we joy every now and again, and we listen to plays and musicals. However, these people are chasing around in order to show everyone also that they have been there and done that, creating jealousy and anger. There's no unity amongst them. They really do not realize what life is. They're missing out on all the pleasures that we have here. We are devoid of egos. It does not matter whether one has money or not. We are blind and need to rely on one another. We really live in a different world. And he went on to say, strangely, in the midst of the millions and millions of people I came across, I met a number of people who were also blind, but had managed to regain their eyesight back. The group of people had been suddenly hit by a major illness and had to stay in their homes. They were paralyzed with their illnesses, not being able to do anything. They had no idea how long they would be stuck in that situation. The families lived with them and took care of them 24 hours 7. Different conditions they were dealing with had opened their eyes to what the rest of the values in life were really about. They were suddenly appreciating the lifestyle that they had missed out in their lives. I was happy and sorry for them. I was happy for their wakefulness and sorry for all those years that they had lost, and there was no going back. They cannot relive the years At least they have the advantage of living out the remainder of their lives. The few weeks, months, or years, truly enjoying the experience that we experience in our lives. Then towards the end of my journey, about 4 months ago, suddenly a major illness hit the whole world, and it was fascinating to watch what happened with people in their tiny little virus took over and spread everywhere, bringing the whole world to its knees. Suddenly there was no difference between the rich and the poor. Everyone was stuck home, just like they are when a tsunami hits their lives. They were suddenly finding that they're having breakfast with their families for the first time in 20 years. They were spending time with their children and enjoying each other's company. Millions of them carried on working from home and their computers and social media applications and continued to be paid. None of them had the desire to go back to their normal lives afterwards. They understand that they could actually do their work from home and still be very efficient. Their experience could save a lot of money for the companies in the overheads and office spaces. They no longer have to spend the hours traveling and could be with their families full time. So they are no different from us. They were suddenly got their sight back, just like I did. Sadly for me, it only lasted for a year. I am standing in front of you, blind man, once again. Last night, I want to be seeing the whole world and wake up blind in the morning. This is exactly what's happening to many people in this world. They've had sight all along, and now they realize that how blind they actually have been. And now they notice the things they have missed throughout all these years. Yes, my friends, there are many beautiful things and that I can tell you about because I've seen them and remember them. Will I never forget this valuable lesson? It's such a beautiful story, and it brings the whole purpose and meaning of this book together with we are living in times where we are looking at people who've had a hit tsunami in their lives, and we have no idea how long the COVID pandemic is going to last and how many years it will take before it comes back to the form of transformation and mutated virus. It is a very difficult ordeal, the future of which is still very unclear and unpredictable. I actually experienced a similar tsunami right before creating this video book and paperback. My wife of 60 years, who I loved deeply and shared a wonderful life with, passed away. We were shut in the house and could not go out despite her wanting to go to certain activities. We were locked down. And everyone else to right now besides, for the last 7 years, I have been suffering from challenges that we knew would essentially take her away within 5 to 6 years. She deteriorated slowly, but kept her rest of her life right to the very end, always with a smile. In the last 2 years, she had another painful illness that took her into hospital every couple of days, weeks, or months. An illness worsens your health as it progresses. Despite that, she would come home perfectly bright and ready to get on with her life the next day or two following. She had morphine injections to calm down the pain, and then suddenly she passed away. Following her passing, I'd spoken to hundreds of people, including my children, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, in trusted family and close friends from all over the world. I was the first one who had to break the news to them. It took me a long time to get through to them. I had to inform them and help them, and I said, 60 years of marriage has been a wonderful experience. And of course, losing her is very sad and life-shattering. However, it is not a tragedy. The passing of our daughter at the age of 39, given that she had 5 young children she left behind, that was a tragedy. It was tragic with my wife's mother, who also had a very young children. And she passed away, in fact. Alice was only 7 years old. It is tragic that millions of people around the world are going out of their minds and stressing out. So they're stuck in their little apartments without a job or security. COVID-19 has affected every aspect of their lives. However, coming to think of it, they can actually be in a better place compared to their dealing with chronic illnesses. COVID-19, the vast majority of the people survive, but sadly, most of the people with life-threatening illnesses and diseases have a limited lifespan. They know that they will eventually die. They make up a far larger percentage of daily deaths around the world, in contrast to those who are dying from the coronavirus. Put things into perspective. We've all been hit by a same storm, except everyone are in different boats. Each one have their own share of worries and concerns. Each one has unique circumstances. Therefore, this storm has really brought the whole world together as one. I would like to give you a few words of encouragement. Hopelessness is the most dangerous virus that goes alongside this virus. It destroys the immune system. It has been so for years. The doctors will tell you, if a patient gives up hope and is frightened or does not believe that they are going to live, following an operation or long curing process, they are sure to die. In other words, it is extremely likely they do not survive. The main reason will not recover to this very virus. There is an antidote to this virus, though. It's smiling, laughing, thinking positively, doing things for other people. Even if some were about to die, they should embrace death with a smile on their face. No one deserves to be stuck between life and death. It's a constant state of pain. There were certain times that I became clear there is nothing we can do for our loved ones. It is not in our hands. It is not in the doctor's hands either. In fact, it's not in everyone's hands. It is how it is meant to be. The biggest antidote is to smile, be happy, and keep your spirits high. You will read more stories of this nature to dig you deeper into the book. Some of the stories are quite remarkable. It will prove to you that possibility and positivity works after all. If our journey is coming to a close, why not end it on a high note? We should learn from the past. That's for the future, and chose life today. That's what I want to advise you to do. Choose life. When people ask me whether my wife passed away from COVID, and I say to them, what difference does it make? A time came. Like everyone in this world, when that time comes, regardless of what caused it, whether it was a cancer, a heart attack, or COVID, just as this storm has opened our eyes for reality, I hope this book will bring us in touch with the truth about our pain. I decided to bring out this video book as a handbook and instruction manual for those suffering from different kinds of pain in their lives. almost foreseeing that by the time we publish this, Alice will no longer be here, and however, we will be sharing with everybody who is reading this book and trying to get help and guidance. But what is the book based on? This book is sitting on a three-legged stool. Why they use three-legged stool? This reason is that they if there's a leg missing or breaks, the stool falls down. Therefore, the three legs are extremely important. Now, what are the three legs of the book? The first leg is the book's strong background. You may have friends that you turn to for help or mentoring. However, how can you trust whether their advice can actually help you or not? They are fallible, like everyone else. On the contrary, the background of this book is the Kabbalah, which contains the secret of the world and the codes of life. The Kabbalah means received and is an ancient tradition that goes right back to the beginning of time. Healing have gone through the University of Life. Right from a very young age, I've been learning all the time. Unfortunately or unfortunately, I've gone through many experiences. I've lost my family members and friends. Meanwhile, many people close to me have gone through major illnesses and managed to fight and overcome. The deadliest was cancer. I had a family member with MS, and I personally suffered from heart problems. Going through all of these different situations, I have learned that you have to know how to live with these issues. We should all have the attitude, if I have cancer in my breast, then it is my breast problem. If I have a pain in my foot, it's my foot's problem. If I have a pain in my heart, it's my heart attack or major operation, it's my heart's problem. That's quite a statement, but it's true. Remember, we have 57 trillion cells in our body and brain. Out of the 57 trillion cells, how many cells do you think are in the heart, foot or breast, or anywhere else in your body? This means you will have the rest of your body functioning as long as a disease or illness has not hit the brain itself. That is the most important part of the body. It's the operating system inside, the body which drives everything behind it, and the soul. We have to bear this in mind all of the time. The third leg is self-hypnosis. This method goes back to sources in the Kabbalah itself, as well as books that date back to the beginning of time. From books written by Abraham and Adam to the Bible itself. It's also based on the principles of Milton Erickson, who is widely regarded as the father of hypnotherapy. We use the same self-hypnosis techniques, but in a different way. This book talks about the 13-petal lily and blue energy wave. Unfortunately, the world is completely confused. They have termed blue, which is the most powerful, loving color that gives so much life to the world and into our hearts, and they've called it the blues. Do not ask me how it happened, but I have to tell you, it is exactly the opposite. Blue is the shortest wave, but the most powerful color in the color spectrum. Scientists have found there are blue planets. You look back at the picture of Earth from space, and it comes out in blue. It is a reflective blue. You look at the sea, it's also blue. The most dominant color in the rainbow is also blue. You find that such a large percentage of everything we are dealing with every day is blue. What is the significance of the color blue from a scientific and medical perspective? Blue is widely used by hypnotherapists and psychiatrists in therapy. And so it does affect on each and every individual who use it. It can help with depression. It can help with pain. It'll help you with understanding. It can help you with all the different psychological problems that you go through. Many academic studies and researches have been conducted on the different aspects of it. When you look at the sky or sea during the day, you are relaxed, and that's a special therapeutic experience. Strangely enough, the number 13 is an unlucky number, and that is far from the truth too. By the time you finish this series, you'll realize that 13 happens to be a very auspicious and lucky number. Whilst walking through the street, park or garden, there are thousands of different types of energy waves traveling through your body. However, you can neither use or feel them unless you have a receiver or a broadcaster. Regardless, there are many of other energy waves that have not been discovered as yet. It is fantastic that they're discovering them all the time and learning how to harness and use them. Other types of energy waves that cannot be measured. These effects on our body and mind can be assessed, but they cannot be harnessed in any other way. Love is one of those energy waves. So is caring and sharing. Unfortunately, anger too. Energy waves that are both negative and positive and constantly spreading out warm feelings and happiness. And other energy waves, they are just getting into our brain. In fact, the brain picks up the force and downloads it. Love is the most precious thing that we can have. Loving someone is important. Interestingly, none of the religions have a blessing which you say, thank you for the love or hug or the sexual experience that you're about to receive. Thank you for all the good feelings. Thank you for that intimacy, which is so important to life. Actually, there is no blessings for quite a lot of things. They are blessings in themselves. Love is important, and it's a gift to everyone. It is what everyone needs, especially when they're going through traumatic situations. It does not matter whether it's a member of your family or yourself. Love and care are important. That is why it's necessary from time to time. We do not have to wait to bring or a traumatic situation in our life to realize that we have to give all our love all the time, because none of us knows what is going to happen the next day, hour, minute, or even every second. Things can change dramatically. We see that in our lives with communication. The internet, television, and mobile phones have completely changed how we communicate. We get all kinds of news instantaneously. We see things happening fast in the world around us, which moves around rapidly. We have to learn to live with it. That is why this book and video combination is so important.